We're going to take a look at these sentences and try to apply as many comma rules as we can. If we are adding or keeping a comma, we're going to say what the rule is that would apply, why we would be using a comma. And if we're removing one or just not adding one, then we don't have to tell a rule for not having a comma. So let's take a look at A. Should we remove the comma after lunch? We have an introductory phrase during lunch, followed by another introductory phrase, or prepositional phrase in this case, at the campus cafeteria. The rule says that if we have more than one consecutive introductory phrase, that we put the comma at the end of the series, which would be right here. Therefore, we do not need this comma. So the answer would be yes, we remove the comma. Now, we don't have to have a rule for removing this comma. Let's take a look at B. Should we remove the comma after cashiers? In this case, we have the conjunction and connecting the overworked cashiers and the exorbitant price for a watery soda. So yes, we should remove this comma because we have a conjunction and, which is totally capable of connecting two objects. Let's take a look at number 2, where we will have to use some rules. Should you remove the comma after quiz? We have Melissa couldn't study for her comma quiz, which is a main clause. We have a subordinate clause that follows it because she was joyriding on the Enterprise with Mr. Spock. If we have a main clause followed by a subordinate clause, the rule says that we do not have to have a comma. So therefore, we would remove this one. And that is on the board for the general punctuation rules. GP. Should we remove the comma after Mr. Spock? We said that when we have commas near the end of the sentence, the first thing we want to do is check if this phrase is really that important to the sentence. The phrase, whom the U.S. Air Force chased with its fastest jets, is not really essential. It's a non-essential phrase, so we do need this comma. And if we read the sentence without that phrase, we'd see that it still makes sense, which means we would call that rule number 6 if you look at the comma rules on the board. Okay, let's try one more before we try to work these on our own. The slimy, smelly lettuce on my burrito made me ask the manager to return my 99 cents. Should you add a comma after slimy? The answer is yes, we should add a comma after slimy. And the reason is rule number 1 on our comma list, or comma rule list on the board. And that is, this is a series. More than one equals a series, and we need a comma in between the objects or the names, or in this case adjectives, in a series. The second part is, should we add a comma after burrito? Simply answer no. And since we're saying that we don't need a comma, we don't need a rule, so we will leave that blank. Okay, let's take a few minutes and work on some of these on our own and come back in about 15 minutes.